Alright, so got the YouTube running now. I like this route, again, this route for a debit spread for December. It only has monthly, so you can't do anything with weeklies on it. But it's a very volatile stock, but a debit spread gives you a good way to enter. Basically the $90, $100 call debit spread. Buy the $90 calls for December, sell the 100s. You can get it for around $3.50 with a chance for it to run up all the way up to $10. So 3 to 1 on it, pretty good. That's en route. A little speculative because the stock is so volatile. Again, we're watching the SPY as it comes down to try to get into the gap fill from the big gap up last Tuesday to Wednesday on SPY. So we're watching that level I'm watching that level pretty closely. It's 585.39, 585.39 on the SPY, and that's likely to offer some support. But both the Qs and the IWM have fallen into the gap, so they're both pretty weak. But the SPY is getting very close to it right here, and low for right now is 585.73. It got within about 30 cents of it. So us pointing out that it's a good reminder to everyone always by starting with a D1 chart. Absolutely, look at the daily chart first. Don't try to trade against the daily chart. Again, we took nice profits in IONQ today. I took profits in Lockheed Martin short from overnight, and I closed out my weekly ATM trade that I had on that went against me. I bought back the short puts yesterday, let the long puts ride this morning, pulled down, so ended up on a trade that was really didn't work for me at all. It's on ILM, so let me just show it to you on the daily chart on the TC2000. This was a trade I had on. Was neutral to bullish right through here. So I did a weekly ATM, which means I sold short puts and bought long puts at 150 and 155 and 150. See, it broke through the 8 and 15. I bought back the puts yesterday, held on to the long puts, got this nice move down today in the long puts. So it ended up turning a weekly ATM trade, which when I had to buy back the short puts, I lost about $450 a contract. I made about $650 a contract on these long puts. So I ended up about $200 a contract on that weekly ATM. That's one of the nice things about a weekly ATM. If you're able to read the technicals and trade it effectively, even if it goes against you, you can do okay. Blue screen daily as you go to, yeah, absolutely. You had a put debit spread and sold it for 100% winner. Excellent, nice job, Blue. That was really a nice trade. All right, let me get back to looking at the market again. Watching the SPY again. I'm watching that SPY level very, very close as far as the breakdown into the gap fill. And for anybody who just coming aboard, let me just show you what I'm talking about on the SPY. And so here's the SPY here. You see this line I've got drawn here. This is the entrance to the gap fill. This was last Tuesday to Wednesday. This is the election. This is the big gap up. The market just a lot of euphoria here in the market, and all of a sudden people are starting to rethink. Maybe I'm going to take some profits here, and it's starting to roll over pretty good. That right there, that 585.39 is the break into the gap down, and that's going to offer some support. When you break in, when you get to a gap fill, there's usually support at that level. So we just kind of watch and see what it does. But then you've got a gap fill all the way down here, 576. That's a big gap, and so just be aware of that. But there's some stocks that are really outperforming beautifully today. Palantir is out nicely. We just brought some Altria calls. Altria is really nice. Got a nice little move here in Altria, bucking the trend in the market. A lot of the tech stocks are kind of weak. Nvidia is breaking down below the 8 and the 15. I'm watching SMR for a potential add to this thing. It's just compressing, but see, it's right on. It went below the 8 and it bounced up above it, sitting right on the 8 exponential moving average. All right, so this is where we are. I'm going to look for some trades, see what I can find. I apologize to the YouTube folks that I forgot to start the feed this morning. How many trades do I How many positions do I typically manage? You know, for myself, in the room, I try to keep it to a 6 or less, because that's a lot of trades to manage. You know, sometimes I'll have 10 or 12 on. If I have credit spreads, I could have more than that. Like we got a credit spread in Saver right now, so I could have a lot more than 6 trades. I could have 10, 11, 12 maybe, but that's about it. Most of the time, even in my positions, I'm going to have less than 15. Yeah, the compass system, or the SPY super system, is giving us indications of what the institutions are doing. We can see that they're pretty much been selling all day. They switched to a little bit of buying here, then back to selling. So it's very choppy here right now. Again, as we approach that SPY gap fill, it's very, very choppy. So you can see the Qs looking the same. They've got a little bit of buying, but it was just moving sideways. And the IWM, which has been very weak, is actually trying to bounce up to the VWAP a little bit, right to here. But all again just because it's staying below the VWAP. So we have a bearish trending day, but some of the candles have been really tiny, very tiny through here, very tiny candles through here. Again, I took 2 SPY super system trades today and did well on both of them. Nothing big, you know, $30-$40 a contract on them, but this was a pretty nice one. I didn't stay in it that long, but this was a pretty nice breakdown here. Then there's a lot of compression in here. This is not where you want to be chasing. You want to wait till you see what. Right now the SPY is so close to that gap fill. I'm just going to wait and see if it gets into it. Again, we took profits on IONQ. That was a beauty, and we did buy some calls on Altria this morning. MO out to December 6th. The Altria calls are up about 10% right now. Again, I got a sell order in at 278. We're trading at 246 right now. Okay, see if we get any other questions. Filled on Saver at 45 cents. Yeah, just a lottery, Terry. You know that when a lottery is. Going really nice on the PBO. PBO is a pullback opportunity. Yeah, it's pulled back to the 8 this morning, trying to break out again. Again, very volatile stock. It's 286 was the support level. It's trading at 291. It's got resistance at $368. Very volatile stock. Joe, on T3, you want to see that gap fill again on the SPY? Yeah, okay, let me show it to you. This is coin I was just talking about. You see this big move here in coins. That's a PBO, a pullback opportunity. You've got a bullish move. The stock retraces. It retraces right back to the 8, and then it starts to bounce off of it. This is the 8 exponential moving average right there. All right, so let me show you the SPY. All right, see, here's the line. Right, here's the gap. This is the gap up on Tuesday, open Wednesday, right here, right? 588.30, 588.39. That's the gap fill. So if it breaks into this gap, you've got basically air between there and this candle right here. I mean, you have some resistance right in here, but but this is the gap you'd be looking to fill, which is all the way down here around 577. That's a big gap in the SPY. So that's a pretty large drop. So that's what I'm watching right now. And again, it's kind of hovering just about 30 cents above that. So when it breaks down, and there's a couple ways to look at this. If it breaks down, it's got to stay below that level. If it pulls back up above the level, if you're short, you got to get out. Or you could wait for it to come down, come back up, hit it, and then reverse back down again. As Terry had mentioned out this morning, basically a confirmation that the trend is going to continue. But gaps are a little trickier than the normal trend. So there it is right there. You can see where it is here. It's getting close. 580 again. 588.39. I'm sorry. 585.39. 30 cents away. So how many screens do I use when trading? I have 4 screens, 4 monitors, and then I have a laptop that I use for the trade exchange news feed, so I don't bog down my PC with that. But I trade 4 screens. Palantir pulling back a little bit. All three are doing pretty nicely here. Again, IONQ, we took profits in IONQ. Pulled back a little bit since we get in, but it's right about what we sold it at. That was a nice trade. Really nice trade. Again, I'm watching SMR as well to see if it holds the 8 today. I'd like to go long this again, but I'm going to wait for confirmation of a bounce off of the 8 exponential moving average on the daily chart. Alright, just going to browse through some charts and see what I can find. Tesla bouncing up a little bit today, up about almost 3%, after a pretty steep pullback. Came right to the 8 this morning and bounced off of it. It's at trading at 320.28. It's got resistance up at 347, about 27 points higher. SPY still coming down here and getting very, very, very close to that gap fill, the entrance to the gap fill. This is a SPY right at the right at that gap fill right now. Just went into it. So SPY is in the gap.
Members watching this on NASDAQ see continued weakness in these semis, with the SMH down almost 3.5%.
All the chip stocks are coming in pretty high here today.
Down 4%.
Nvidia.
One of the names that we've been watching is the AMAT following their earnings. Not much movement following the open. Down 8.75%.
ACLS, another weak one. Okay, so SPY has gotten into the, well, now it's back above it again. Get into the gap briefly. Again, it's right on the gap here. So you want to see this thing stay below 585.39. Right now it's 2/10 above it. It's right on that, right on the gap. And it bounced off the gap. Triple Q is the weakest index right now. The tech stocks, especially the chip stocks, are really weak today. Applied Materials reported this morning and has come down, gapped way down, kind of moving sideways since the gap down. But Nvidia is weak. Nvidia down about almost 4%. AMD down about 3%. SMH, which is the ETF on semiconductors, down about a little over 3.3%. There's the SPY again. That's the Qs, sorry. Qs are already in the gap. SPY hit the gap and bounced a little bit. Qs have, they fill the gap, they're in the gap. You see the gap fill right here in the Qs. It's in it, but this is an algo line right here. This is an algo support line. on the Qs coming from way back here. You noticed it touched here, and then it came up, and then it touched here, it touched here, it touched here, and that's to me that's the next support level. Then you get the 50-day way down here on the Qs, but that right there, that level right there is around 494.50. And the SPY again just above the gap by 11 cents. So for me, it's a wait and see here before I decide to take any puts or anything on the SPY. Qs seem to be still pretty weak here, but listen. They're going to, if the SPY finds support at the gap fill and bounces, they're likely going to follow suit. So just kind of wait and see here. It's about 12:10 right now. There it is again, SPY right at the gap.
Members watching this Pepsi, PEP, and Coca-Cola, KO. Keep in mind yesterday we did mention, following that RFK news of the weakness seen in certain areas. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, MCD, on watch following those headlines on RFK.
Coke breaking down today, Pepsi breaking down today, and McDonald's, as I just mentioned, breaking down as well. SPY breaking down below that level by about 5 cents, 585.39. You can see it's fighting it right there. If you take any SPY super systems at this point, you want to use Monday's expiration, not today's. You want to give yourself a little bit of breathing room. The thing is, if you take the SPY super system, you really can't take the SPY super system here. It's too far away from the 15. You really would like to see a bounce up to the 15. But if you're taking SPY puts, just use Mondays and give yourself a little bit of room here. Again, it's just again, it's fighting that 585.39 level. Again, use Monday's expiration on any SPY Qs or IWM puts that you use, or calls for that matter. Make sure you go out to Monday. You don't want to get crushed on time decay if the market slides sideways for a while. Again, the SPY at 585.32 right now. Again, not much support forming here yet. Triple Qs as well, weak. No indication of any support yet or any buying coming in. So kind of watch it. There it is, right at the gap fill again. Again, 585.39 is just about 13 cents above there. Savers pull back from that nice move up, pull back a little bit. Again, we took profits in IONQ this morning. I took profits in Lockheed Martin this morning on the short side. And we're in all three now, long. Okay, got a bunch of questions here. Seva, Dwayne, you had a profit on 825 and 10 contracts. Nice job. Fell back before you could sell. Yeah, it's very volatile. Doug, 21-cent profit on the SPY Super System. Nice job. Dwayne, calling deck on 370. Yeah, Savers is a very, very volatile stock. What gap? Where? Compass pointing toward relative strength in CLX today and intraday, jumping in for a hopeful hit and run. Joseph on CLX, Clorox. Yeah, nice setup in Clorox. Again, it's consumer defensive, going up pretty nicely. SPY has not been able to stay below that gap fill. You were asking about the gap fill, Doug. Let me show it to you. We've shown this several times today so far. Whoops. All right, so here's the gap fill in SPY. See the gap up? Tuesday, Wednesday. This is the big gap up. After the election, you see where the entrance to the gap fill is right there. 585.39. That's the level we're looking at for a back break into that. If it breaks into that, it's got room all the way down here to fill the gap. Now, the reason it's interesting is the Qs have already got into the gap right here, you notice, and I do have an algo line support there, and IWM, which is also deep into the gap. That's why the SPY is interesting. The SPY has been stronger. It has not entered the gap, but just slightly entered the gap here just a little while ago, but still trading above it. Savers pulled back quite a bit. Savers is very, very, very volatile stock. The implied volatilities on these calls and puts are astronomical. So they're really, really high. Altria trading at about 246 now, up about 20 cents a contract on those calls. No, Doug, I understand you. You can't be in front of your computer all the time. So yeah, so just any questions like that, just ask me. I'd be happy to show it. Shiv, do I think the gap should? Shiv's talking about the TC2000 chart. What he's looking at is volume on the SPY. So the volume on the SPY, yeah, it was a big volume here on this day. Has stayed up pretty much average. It's fell down a little bit yesterday, and it's fell down today. So yeah, the volume is lower on the move down. So I mean, that does have some significance. Do I think it's going to increase if we get into the gap? I don't have any idea what'll happen. SPY volume has been kind of all over the place. This is today we got 19.1 million. Yesterday we did 38, so we're on track to just about match that. Again, we're back up above the gap fill area again. You know, taking any kind of SPY calls about puts here is you know, you're anticipating the market's can go down into that gap. So we don't know what it's going to do. One thing you can do is if it gets up to the 15 and turns around and heads back down again, you could try a SPY super system trade there with the intention of holding it if it breaks into the gap and selling it if it stops at the gap and bounces. Joseph, you entered a conservative defined risk bearish trade with a put debit spread on LIN. Yeah, LIN is it's a specialty chemical company, and it's down below the 200-day moving average. Definitely bearish in LIN. Lindy, I've traded this one before. I like Lindy. I like this short setup on it. Trades plenty of shares to be able to trade that. Nice look on that one, Joseph. Looking at the T2104, by the way, bearish all day long. That's that Lindy that he's talking about. Daily chart's very bearish. Right here. Nice breakdown in LIN. And it only has monthly options, by the way, LIN. SPY bouncing off of that gap fill level. Seva gone against me as far as that lottery I got. Very small position. And root, I like the December root. $90 call debit spread, buy the 90, sell 100. For December, it only has monthly expiration, so not trying to use today's at all. Again, looking at all three moving up pretty nicely here. Palantir, let's pull back just a bit. Doug pointing that SPY also bouncing off the 20 EMA on a day time frame. Yeah, again, I use the 15, but you can, if some people use the 21, I mean, you can use all these kind of things. The key with the SPY is right now it's below the 15, and if I put the 20 on there, it's going to be right about at the 20. Yep, right at the 20 right now. You know, some of these moving averages, you know, they're basically they're subjective as far as which ones you use. I find the 8 to be very effective, and the 15. The reason I use the 8 and the 15 is if the falls below the 8, I use the 15 as a backstop because a lot of times it'll bounce off the 15. As of yet, right now, yesterday, the SPY closed at the 8, gap down this morning below the 8, and now has moved below the 8 and the 15 today. And it's coming back in again right now. Joe looking at Mo about 56, 55 will get us out. Yeah, it's trading at let's see. Yeah, trading at 247 right now. So that'd be about 40 cents higher. Yeah, that's about right. About 50, 56, 55, maybe a little bit more, because the delta's not, the delta on the options are, what are they right now? Delta on those options are 80, so it's going to go about 80 cents for every dollar move. So it'd be about 40 cents. That's about right. Nice calculation there, Joe. So you're looking at a firm, very strong today, but you're mostly watching the market. Yeah, I mean, some of the tech stocks are really doing well. The chip stocks are doing horrible. A firm's strong today. Palantir is strong today. IONQ is strong today. Tesla's pretty good today as well, up about $7, almost $8. But I don't really consider Tesla like a tech stock altogether. It is kind of a tech stock, but Meta's breaking down pretty hard today. Very, very weak. Apple came right to the 100. Amazon down almost 4%. Google as well. Again, the Moderna is very weak today, down 10%. Pfizer very weak today, down about 5%. Big drops in these on these healthcare stocks. Coke and Pepsi was a couple of poundings here the last couple of days. SPY coming back down again, right to the almost to the gap fill. Just went below the gap fill. Just right on it. Again, it's fighting this level, but it sure looks like it's going to break down. there goes the SPY into the gap now. We'll see how much force it has. It's a decent entry for SPY Super System, as I had mentioned, right off the 15. And then watch that level that it just broke through, the 585.39. Now it's continuing on down. You just have to manage your profits here on these. And fighting this gap fill. SPY back up above the gap fill again. Falling below it again. Just it's really fighting this gap. Again, there's going to be a lot of battling going on here at this gap. Gap fill entries are relatively strong support and resistance levels. Right now it's becoming a resistance at 585.39 as it pulls back down. So if you come in off the 15 here, you get a little bit of a profit here, but it's tough. I mean, your P&L is going to be jumping all over the place on these hammer bars like that. But this is definitely, we're still in the bearish downtrend in for sure, and it looks to be though we're going to go into this gap fill. We're pretty much into it just a little bit right now, so we'll see what happens. Can't really make too many assumptions here as to when there might be some buying coming in. But right now we're in a bearish trending day. Altria's pulled back on the 5-minute chart. Still looks nice on the daily chart. I switched that over to new yearly lows. Again, Pfizer's coming in pretty hard. Lucid, these are all stocks with new yearly lows. SMCI, this thing has been getting clobbered lately. Again, Moderna for a low. Whoops. Not interested in that. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Wolf, another semiconductor. Boeing put in a new low. It's bouncing a little bit off of it though. CVS new low, but bouncing. Alright, so see what the SPY's doing here. Again, it's fighting that, really fighting with that level. All right, so this is the debit spread on Root. It's called debit spread, monthly expiration. They only has monthlies, but I think it's a decent decent risk reward here on the chart. The chart on here is pretty nice. You should be able to get in for about $3.50. That would be a max loss on the trade. and it's got a decent setup right here. Could get all the way to 100, but we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put that out as an alert. Again, I should note this is a spec trade. I don't like doing debit spreads out in time like that, but I do like this one. Alright, so I put that out as official trade. We'll see where it goes. Again, SPY just fighting that gap. And as I suspected, that gap fill level, 585.39, is going to be a big battle for the buyers and sellers right there. People, the algos in some institutions, they see the SPY come down to that level, they want to buy it because they think it's going to bounce off of there. Other people are trying to sell it, thinking it's going to fall into the gap. All we can do is follow what the price does. CCJ had a big gap up here this morning on the Russians limiting the exports of uranium to the United States. Boom, up goes CCJ. Now it's just kind of drifting back down again. Again, a lot of these moves on that kind of news are going to be exaggerated. They're going to be overbought or oversold. They're going to set. It's going to be, this level's going to be too high. A lot of times you can strangle these things if the premiums aren't too exorbitant. Terry, you received a note from Trady when you tried to put the trade on route? That's funny, I get filled on it. I don't know why they would block that. I mean, it is really volatile, but you're putting a debit spread on. You're not. I mean, there's no risk to your account. When you do a debit spread, you're only liable for however much you pay for it. Probably gonna have to call them and ask them why it's blocked. Other than the fact that it's tremendously volatile. SPY back bouncing right off of that level again. So it will be very interesting to see if we get back up on the bullish side on the SPY, if it gets back up to this VWAP or not. Again, we got some buying coming in here. You can see we've gone blue for the first time since this little bit back here, and that gap entry has become fairly strong support. SPY pulled up to the 15. Now it's moving back down again. This is really pretty choppy and untradeable. If you do trade it, you're going to have to be fairly nimble. The Q's right at the 15 as well. IWM right there. So we'll see if we get a big sell-off this afternoon, or if we just compress, or if we get a bounce. So far I don't see any volume to give us any indication we're going to have any significant bounce, but we'll have to wait and see. I've traded for a while. Is a market move of this size common after an election? Yeah, usually there's a gap one way or the other. That was a pretty big gap last week, so that was a pretty big move up. But you know, sometimes it gaps a lot, sometimes it doesn't. I wouldn't say that there's any indication that it's going to make any. You can't make any judgment based on the next election based on something like that. It just depends. What typically is impacted more is on administration changes. Particular stocks and sectors are going to be impacted the most. They're talking about obviously cutting the credit for EV vehicles. That's going to impact some EV manufacturers, especially ones that are losing money right now. Probably won't impact Tesla as much as some of the others. Then as far as somebody like RFK taking over the HHS, that's going to impact vaccine manufacturers. It's also going to impact stocks like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and McDonald's that are considered unhealthy foods. So you know those are the things that are going to be impacted the most by those kind of things. And listen, this is all interpretation. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, how much of this is going to take place. There's anticipations of things occurring that a lot of times that people expect these things to occur, and then it doesn't happen. So you have to be careful that you're not jumping on a ship that's going down a river that has a waterfall or something, and you just don't know. So that's why we just trade price action. We trade technicals. That's it. I don't really care. I don't make any assumptions. I'm not going to buy something or sell something based on what I think the market's going to do based on any kind of assumptions, any kind of news assumptions, and unless it's a corporate news. Corporate guidance reductions or raises or something like that are fairly significant. But trying to trade off of what you think is going to happen based on administration change or a company problem that's going on, kind of rumors that come out on social media as far as stocks are concerned, I don't trade off any of that stuff. I'm just looking at the price, and I'm not gonna sell Coke because I think it might keep going down. I put puts on it because the chart tells me to put puts on it. That's the only reason I would do it. Not because I'm not trying to understand why anything's doing anything, because you'll drive yourself crazy if you try to understand why the market's doing what it's doing. You're never going to be able to do it. And you're gonna cloud your judgment. You're gonna color your objectivity when you start trading stocks. Because if you think that all the drug stocks are gonna go down now because of administration change, but you think that okay, I'm gonna short these things now, but if they're not going down, you don't want to be shorting them. If they're going down, you can short them off the technicals, but not off of your belief in what's going to occur because of some assumption that you're making. Again, we don't trade assumptions. We trade facts and price action. Question on the average volume on the SPY has dropped. Yeah, it's dropped a lot in the last 6 months. I mean, it typically drops over the summer, but yeah, the volume on the markets have been going down. I mean, for a while now, they've been going down. Who knows why? I mean, it's if you're looking at the SPY volumes, they've been dropping, but listen, not a huge amount, but they're down quite a bit. I don't try to read anything into that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at relative volume for the near term on these things to think if I'm getting a move. In other words, if I'm looking at volume, if it's one of the criteria that I'm looking at, and I don't look at it a lot, but I do need to see them. I'll take a look at volume, and if the stock's breaking out on much higher than normal volume, that's significant. Even if the volume has dropped a lot, if you get a surge in volume, it's going to make a difference. This is SPY pulling down now again. Bob, the trader did the same thing to you a couple of weeks ago. Block security, you had to call him. Yeah, maybe they're looking out for you. I don't know, Terry. Maybe you think these guys at trading know more than anybody else about how that stock's going to move? I don't. UPST shy, another D1 8 exponential. He's talking about bouncing off the 8 on the daily. UPST, yeah. Again, when they this is, I have just a term for these. I call these PBOs, pullback opportunities. But you got to see some confirmation that it's gonna hold. That's what I'm watching for in SMR. As a pullback, but I want to see it confirm. I need to see it confirm that it's going to continue back up into the uptrend again. Here's your SPY right here. See that it's broken into the gap. So 585.39 becomes your stop if you're short this. Again, welcome to everybody on YouTube that's watching the room here on YouTube. This is my SPY Super System software, or sometimes called the Compass software. SPY Super System software. This is telling me what the current time frame momentum is right here, and the multi-time frame momentum right here. For the SPY Super System, which we trade SPY, Qs, and IWM off of support and resistance. Right now, the 15 is a support and resistance level we'd be trading off of. Hold on just 1 second. Okay, a bogus call coming in under a person's name that I know, but it isn't even them. All right. That ring talk brings back memories, QA. I haven't changed it in years. I don't use my phone very much for calls. I mean, I don't call on the phone very much. I mostly Skype. When I'm talking to people, I use Skype. I very rarely use the phone except for, for if I need to use it for trading or any schedules and stuff, but I don't, basically, it's not really a phone for me very much. All right, so again, the SPY pulled down. It's pulled down a little bit. It's coming right back up again toward that. Again, we're going to see if we can get any kind of force to the downside on the SPY. Again, if you took the SPY right here, off the 15, you got to be cautious here. It's coming right back up toward it again. And the 15 is just a little bit above the gap fill right now. Yes, Shai, you're just calling out good stocks. strong stocks and setting alerts. Yeah, and that's smart. That's a smart thing to do. You just want to have them on your list of stocks that could become good longs for you. Wolf is a nice short. Yeah, Wolf is again all the stocks right now that are in the semiconductor sector are really terrible. I mean, they're really, really weak. Wolf is breaking down. It's been breaking down day after day here. Nvidia is breaking down as well now. AMD even worse. So yeah, the semiconductors are very, very weak. SMCI, pretty flat today. They're fighting to keep from getting delisted since they don't have any auditors right now. The auditors left. Again, that root stock we took, that's a speculative stock for December called debit spread. Really, that I do those. That's kind of unusual for me to do a debit spread out a month. But I have to if I want to do a debit spread net, and I don't want to touch the straight calls because they're too expensive. Took a nice profit in IONQ today. That was beautiful, and we added MO today. We're long MO, and took a nice profit in IONQ. So pretty nice. We're trying to deal with this market as best we can. It's a tough market to trade. Big run up like that from last week, and now a big run back, giving up most of the gains from all last week. But you know, that's trading. That's one of the things that makes it difficult. And our job is to just focus on high probability trades, trade our strategy and our methodology. Don't let news bother you. Don't let election changes bother you. None of that stuff matters, because you're gonna just, if you do that, you're gonna color your objectivity. You're gonna make decisions even though you don't know you're doing it. Your mind is thinking, oh, I should be short the market because of this, or I should be long the market because of this. No, you should be long the market because the market tells you to be long, or short the market if the short market tells you to be short. That's the only reason. Again, prices is what you follow. Price is king. Price is what determines what the stock's going to do, not some talking head or some analyst's opinion. Lost my internet briefly. It's coming back because I've got the
Total rig count coming
again. My
in
internet's getting a little bit squirrely here right now.
-1 to 478.
Again, SPY back up above the gap fill level again. Again, it's a big fight right there. All right, I'm gonna cut everything off here. Well, not everything. I'm gonna leave the YouTube feed here in just a minute. I'm gonna grab some lunch, so I'm gonna stop that here in just a minute. I've been on about an hour and 15 minutes or so. I usually do it for an hour to an hour and a half a day, and I appreciate everybody in the YouTube feed that's been watching the room today. Again, this is our compass system, our SPY super system. This is telling us whether the institutions are buying or selling. Red and blue are bearish. Red and yellow are bearish. Green and blue are bullish. And we can see right now that mostly it's selling, but the SPY is right at the 585.39 level is the gap fill entry from last Tuesday, which it's been fighting. It's been just fighting that now for a while. Q's also we're weak in IWM. Again, bear trend day in the market. Shorts are decent for intraday trades for today. So if you can find some decent shorts. Is he again Sedge? Been very weak. Of course, this is the solar stocks have been getting clobbered since that last week. So pretty weak First Solar not as bad, but still down today about 1%. Sedge down about 12%. Alright, SPY just kind of hovering around that level. I'm just going to watch it for a while. Alright, I'm going to grab some lunch. Grouchy, appreciate it. You love seeing those. Yeah, the compass system or the SPY super system is a massive help to me as far as understanding whether institutions are in the trade or not. If they are in a trade, it's much easier that you can take them. If they're not in the trade, I don't want to be involved in it. I don't want to be trying to trade against the other retail traders out there that don't know what they're doing. I think they do, but they don't have the information that you need to be successful consistently. So this is a big deal for me to have this compass system on here, the SPY super system on here. We do SPY super system trades, which are off the 5-minute candles, using the VWAP right here and the 15 as stops, basically support and resistance levels. So we trade off of that quite often. This was an entry right here off the 15, but this is such a choppy day today. It's trending down, but there's a lot of green in between that kind of put your position in jeopardy as we go. So anyway, that's what we use it for. I also use it for longer term trades. We took IO and Q profits in it today. If I look at the daily chart and on IO and Q, which we bought a while back now. Let's see how it all green here. Institutions buying, since here they've been buying in current time frame, multi-time frame. This is 1 day, this is 1 day, 3 days, 9 days, all green. That tells you the institutions are buying it. You can see what it's been doing. And we actually took it here, and then we just sold it today for a really, really nice profit, close to 50%. So that's what we use the software for. It's a great piece of software. You can buy it, put it on Thinkorswim as your platform. Don't have to pay for the Thinkorswim platform, and you also don't have to trade off of Thinkorswim. I don't trade off of Thinkorswim. I just use it for putting this compass system or the SPY super system software on there. All right, everybody, I'm gonna get some lunch here. I'm getting a little hungry. Been pretty hectic this morning. I've had quite a few positions that I had to work on, and we've answered a lot of questions. So thanks again. I really appreciate all the participation from the room, and thank you very much for YouTube folks. We'll see. I'll be back on